Formula One power units aren't just engines, they're masterpieces of engineering, a symphony of precision, power, and innovation that has driven the pinnacle of motorsport for over 7 decades. But how did we get here? How did we go from roaring, naturally aspirated beasts of the 1950s to today's ultra-efficient hybrid marvels capable of harnessing every drop of energy? This story is one of triumph, failures, and groundbreaking innovations. It's about engines so powerful they defied belief, and some so flawed they barely made it to the finish line. It's about the genius of engineering minds who dared to push limits, even when it meant courting disaster. Which era saw the fastest Formula One cars? Which innovations reshaped the sport forever? And how does a 1.6-liter hybrid engine today produce as much power as the massive V12s of the past? These are questions that define Formula One's ever-evolving legacy, and today we're recounting that thrilling history. But here's the twist. This isn't just about the numbers. It's about the stories behind the machines, the rivalries that drove their creation, and the engineering marvels that turned science fiction into reality. By the end of this conversation about the heartbeat of Formula One, you'll not only see how far we've come, but you might also have changed your own opinion on the best era of Formula One power units. Let's rewind to the 1950s. These were the days of simplicity. Cars like the Alfa Romeo 158 used naturally aspirated inline engines with displacements ranging from 1.5 to 4.5 liters. They produced around 300 horsepower, a jaw-dropping number at the time. However, reliability was a major issue. Mechanical failures were frequent, and many cars failed to finish races. Despite this, these machines could reach speeds of up to 200 kilometers per hour, laying the groundwork for what was to come. The worldwide group science project that is Formula One was just getting off the ground. In the 1960s, the mid-engine revolution transformed Formula One. This new design, pioneered by teams like Lotus, shifted the engine to the middle of the car, improving handling and weight distribution. V8 engines became the standard, with displacements around 3 liters and power outputs climbing to 400 or even 450 horsepower. Cars like the Lotus 49, powered by the legendary Ford Cosworth DFV engine, became icons of the sport. However, not every innovation succeeded. For example, the British Racing Motors H16 engine was overly complex and ultimately a failure, highlighting the fine line between genius and disaster. As the 60s came a close, the quest for speed and power had only just begun. The 1970s introduced turbocharging, setting the stage for a new era of experimentation. Initially, turbocharged engines struggled with reliability and lag, but they showed immense potential. Renault introduced the first turbocharged V6 engine in 1977. By the end of the decade, naturally aspirated engines were hitting 500 horsepower, while turbocharged counterparts were pushing 600. These power units were pushing boundaries, both in speed and engineering. But one fact seemed crystal clear. Turbocharging was the future, and there was no going back. The 1980s ushered in the true turbo era, where Formula One saw some of the most extreme engines in its history. With just 1.5 liters of displacement, these turbocharged beasts produced over 1,000 horsepower during qualifying sessions. Cars like the Honda-powered McLaren MP44, driven by legends like Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost, epitomized this era. But the power came at a cost. Turbo lag and overheating issues were constant challenges, and engines were often designed to last only a few laps in qualifying. Drivers had to wrestle with these unpredictable machines, making this one of the most thrilling periods in Formula One history. However, despite the edge of the seat, white-knuckle drives, the constant unpredictability and reliability challenges caused a rethink and a return to the old adage, there's no replacement for displacement. This rethink manifested itself as a return to naturally aspirated engines in the 1990s. But this time, they were more powerful and efficient than ever before. V10 and V12 engines dominated, with displacements of 3.5 liters, later reduced to 3 liters. Despite most teams going with more cylinders, Cosworth's Ford-badged V8 engine, the Z-Tech R, powered Michael Schumacher's Benetton car to the 1994 Drivers' World Championship. Power outputs reached up to 800 horsepower during this era, and cars like the Williams FW14B, with its groundbreaking active suspension system, became engineering marvels. These engines were far more reliable, enabling teams to push the limits of performance even further. The early 2000s welcomed the golden era of the V10 engine and arguably produced the most memorable soundbites. Fond memories of screaming V10 engines will be forever captured in the ears of Formula One fans. With 3-liter displacement and power outputs approaching 900 horsepower, these engines were nothing short of masterpieces. Cars like the Ferrari F2004 achieved dominance, but engine manufacturers like Mercedes, Renault, Honda, and Toyota were all vying for the title of most powerful engine. However, as Ferrari would demonstrate, power wasn't everything. Reliability began to take center stage, as sometimes it paid off to have a more reliable engine than a powerful one. Engines were now required to last an entire race weekend, and often you simply had to finish a race to achieve victory over your faster opponents who did not. This giant leap forward in reliability meant teams were now battling on multiple fronts. However, in 2009, major changes in the form of the kinetic energy recovery system would once again reshape the course of Formula One history. Teams were permitted to use regenerative braking to store kinetic energy in a flywheel or in a battery. This development once again pushed Formula One into uncharted territory, the hybrid era. True hybrid power units were introduced in 2014 and combined a 1.6-liter turbocharged internal combustion engine with an advanced energy recovery system. These systems captured kinetic and thermal energy, turning it into extra power. Despite initial controversy, these hybrid units proved to be incredibly efficient, achieving over 50% thermal efficiency compared to just 30% in older engines. Cars like Lewis Hamilton's championship-winning Mercedes W11 dominated the era, showcasing the incredible potential power and reliability of hybrid technology. Today's Formula One power units continue to build upon the hybrid model, producing over 1,000 horsepower while meeting strict efficiency and sustainability goals. They're heavier and more complex than their predecessors, but they're also far more advanced. Modern Formula One cars are faster, smarter, and more reliable than ever before, thanks to decades of innovation. While Mercedes power units continue to be capable of winning races, their dominance has been curtailed by the likes of Honda, whose power units have propelled Red Bull Racing's Max Verstappen to 4 consecutive World Drivers' Championships. However, regulations are about to change again, and coupled with the newly instituted cost cap in the sport, dominance will be harder than ever to achieve. As we look to the future, Formula One is set to embrace new technologies. Beginning in 2026, engines will be required to be a 50-50 configuration, with half of their power coming from electric motors and the other half from internal combustion. Race fuel will be required to be 100% sustainable, spurring massive development and partnership between teams and the world's largest fuel companies. Cars will only be permitted to use 70 kilograms of fuel during a race, and they will weigh in at 30 kilograms less than they do at present. With these changes on the horizon, it's evident that the evolution of the power unit is far from over, and the quest for speed, efficiency, and innovation will continue to define the sport. As we look back to the thundering V12 engines of the 1950s and compare them to the precision-engineered hybrid systems of today, it's obvious that the story of the F1 power unit is a saga of relentless innovation and human ambition. Each era has left its mark, defining not just the cars, but the very soul of the sport itself. But what's truly remarkable isn't just the machines. It's the visionaries who dared to reimagine what was possible, the rivalries that fueled innovation, and the passion that continues to drive Formula One into uncharted territory. So, which era captured your imagination? Were the screaming V10s truly the golden era, or do today's hybrids deserve more credit? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation alive. As we celebrate the evolution of Formula One's beating heart, one thing is certain: the journey isn't over. With every new season, Formula One pushes the boundaries of engineering, reminding us why it remains the pinnacle of motorsport. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more deep dives into the incredible world of Formula One. See you on the grid.